can't leave during the Eternals discussion, though, dude.
I'll try not to. I'll try my best not to. Did you watch it?
I just thought, no, we don't get it till next week, and I've discovered why. Frustratingly, but it does make sense from the business over here. So you're probably not aware.
Jesus Christ!
This week is the Diwali, the festival of light that the Indians and the Hindus celebrate.
Got it.
And so that's quite a big deal for them, obviously. And there's a huge Indian expatriate community here in Dubai, so it's a big deal over here. So as I'm sure you are aware, though, they make quite a lot of movies over in India. So on the screens here this weekend, which is their holiday weekend, they've put a load of Hindi films on the big screens over here to hit that market. And it means that Eternals has been pushed back a week, which is why we don't get it till next week. I understand it.
I think that's all the more reason you have Kumail Nanjiani.
He's Pakistani.
They make a Bollywood movie in Eternals.
I know that. I'm just saying he's not Indian.
He's not going to celebrate Diwali.
That's weird.
But anyway, so I haven't had the pleasure of seeing this, what seems to be at the moment rather divisive. I saw that Manny fucking hated it as well.
He does.
Not his words, but he didn't like it very much.
Yeah, what was the tweet? I gotta find that again. That was a really good tweet. He was like, "Fuck that movie" or something crazy like that. Hold on. Manny Gomez says
Eternals had horrible pacing and was uninterested by the end.
2 out of 10.
Oh, he said if he was watching it at home, he would have turned it off or walked out or whatever, right?
Yeah, if I was watching anywhere other than the theater, I would have turned it off. 2 out of 10. And then, so here's the interesting thing. He had a pre-tweet debating if I should waste my time tonight and go watch Eternals. So he is pre-baked not to like this shit.
He was I was literally about to say that too. He seems predisposed.
He does have a lot of Marvel stuff.
I mean,
he's definitely a DC guy. I mean, he likes both, but he's like me. But I'm obviously more of a Marvel guy than a DC guy.
I'm like a good movie guy, and so we'll get into how I felt about it
I like Eternals.
Later.
I mean, to be fair, I understand I have problems with it. But
I haven't said anything. How do you know I have a problem? How do you know what my problems are?
You gave a straight-faced emoji when I said that I liked Eternals, and I thought Eternals was dope.
Oh, I thought you said no. Why? I thought you said you knew why.
Hold on a second. Okay, you talk now. My headphones decided to be stupid. It was like mobile device not found, and then it connected. So what did you say?
I thought you said you knew why I didn't like it or something like that.
Oh yeah, I do.
Why? You know what? I don't want to know yet. I don't want to know
like,
yet. I want to save it. Hold on.
Save it.
You know what? Write down your Dr. Jammer prescription. Keep that shit, like put it on a notepad, put it on a script.
I don't want to put it on a notepad. I'll just tell you.
I know. I mean, save it for like when we get to that section. We got other stuff to do.
Here's my prescription. And so if you should be able to read this. Oh, you can't. Fuck.
I can't virtual background boy.
I have to turn that off.
Hey, is it gonna be a spoiler? Should I close my eyes?
No, so basically,
the joke is done.
This is just a breakdown.
I don't care anymore. It's already done. I can't even read that.
Like a doctor's.
I don't know what that says.
Exactly.
I can't read that. I see.
Thank you.
Is that
Nick.
your signature?
Thank you. No, that was me. That was actually a description of the reason why.
I'm not Nick Dahl. I can clearly articulate why I don't like shit.
Oh, so do you want me to actually write it down?
I'll write you a thesis about why I don't like something.
And see if it matches with what you say. If I write it down and then
yes.
All
so
right,
then you can go from being like Dr. Jammer to Jammer the Magnificent or whatever magician
I'll be like this. Hey Jonesy, check your pocket.
Is this your opinion? Is this your opinion? No.
Is that your opinion?
Check your pocket.
How'd you get your pocket?
Jammer. It's like Jammer. I wrote this and put it in my own pocket. How is this magic?
There's tonight's tagline. Jonesy, check your pocket.
Check your pockets. Check your pockets. You guys ready to do a show?
Yeah.
Do it.
All right. Hello and welcome to Breaking Geek Radio, the podcast, the premier flagship and international podcast of LRM Online. I'm your host, Brandon Jones, and this week we got the lads. I decided that's what we should be called. Like before, we had the Triforce of Geekdom when it was the three of us, myself, Nick Dahl, and Tanya. But I think we have proven that we're just like the laddiest fucking podcast on LRM Online. Like just dudes talking about shit dudes should be talking about in a podcast where we expect to have careers later on. But yeah, so that's what we're gonna do. We have got a lot of news to cover today, but in addition to that, after we're done with the news, we're gonna give our thoughts on Eternals. So Joseph and I, Jammer and I, we tend to disagree sometimes. We've got disparate thoughts and feelings.
I feel like we agree more than we disagree, to be perfectly honest. And even if we disagree, I feel like 90% of the time we can see where we're coming from. It's not like a me and Nick thing where there's no reconciling.
Fine. I guess it will be a civil disagreement. I just wanted to lean into Danny's comment about needing some popcorn to watch this podcast, this episode.
Yeah.
It will be a gentleman's agreement, I think, or disagreement. I think we'll see. Like I alluded to, we've got a lot of news, and I think I wanted to start with some of the box office results just to get you all's thoughts and feelings and see how you what if reactions, if any, you have to some of the stuff that's going on. And actually, I'll start with the first one. So No Time to Die, as of last reporting, so Deadline was saying this is around Halloween, so it's a little bit ago, so we're going to have updated and newer numbers, but right now it's 605 million worldwide.
609.
So that's it. That's the only difference. That's surprising.
Yeah,
but I guess it's not a weekend.
So 609. Yeah, it's not a week. It's just a day, I think.
Yeah,
so.
That's interesting. So right now, sitting at 609 million worldwide. We've got Venom 2 coming in behind that at $395 million, which is, I contributed to that despite the fact that I did for a podcast. So that always disgusts me. And then Dune, we've got sitting at $292 million. So I'm curious, given what people are saying about these films,
I have it at 303 million. 303.
303. Okay.
Yeah.
Given what people have been saying about these films, I'm kind of I'm surprised and not surprised that James Bond has made as much. And I think Danny and I talked about this before, the fact that it had such positive reviews, and because the crowd was a little bit older, that this would have some legs. And so it's nice to see that bearing out and that this isn't like a stale franchise or anything like that. So I'm curious, did you guys want to react to those numbers at all?
I'm impressed by those James Bond numbers, considering the current state of the world in the Backstreet Boys reunion tour that's going on still, especially in certain parts of the world.
Danny, don't you know they never broke up? They've always been together.
They not?
They've never broken up.
Well, then what's these past 2 years been all about then? I don't understand. I'm impressed by those numbers. I would have to say that if we weren't living in that world, I'd say that would definitely beat Skyfall's numbers of over $1 billion, because that one was the only one that made $1 billion, right? I would say that would definitely be on its way. I mean, it's not going to get there now, but the fact that we're living in this world and it got that high a number, I'm pleased. I'm impressed, but I'm also super pleased because I'm certainly happy to have contributed to those numbers twice. Yeah.
Yeah, ditto. Two times for me. It's weird.
Sorry, buddy. Go ahead.
I was just going to say it's weird watching box office numbers, and I know that we're only doing this for entertainment purposes, but every time I see a movie that I just could not stand to make a significant amount of money, I'm just like, ugh, I feel gross. I feel dirty. I want to go take a shower. Got to get this symbiote off me. Anybody else? Anybody else want to react to that? You guys done? That's it.
I think box office tracking right now is pointless. No one knows anything. We don't know how much streaming contributes to the bottom line. We don't know. There are so many factors for each individual movie that we don't know, like how much it's been affected by the pandemic or why a movie is more or less affected than pandemic. The fact that James Bond is like $600 million is, and that's like, oh my God, that's so much money. It just doesn't mean anything. It means nothing.
So I'm of two minds about it. I agree and I disagree. I agree that we should look at it differently than how we have been, but I also think we can look at it as a positive indication about how people are feeling about going outside, interacting with other people. It's because, we're still in the Delta variant phase of what's going on with the COVID. And so I wouldn't use it as a marker of how successful or not successful a movie is. I think we can use it to talk about where things are going in the future and have conversations about what studios might do in the future.
Yeah, I guess so. But because it's so different for each movie as far as like, this movie was affected. This movie is on HBO Max. This movie isn't on HBO Max. It's like apples to oranges still.
Right.
And we just we can't look at it like we used to. But not only that, we don't know how we should look at it yet.
You know what else is interesting is thinking about something like the difference in time and what factors we've got between Dune, which has made a significant amount of money, versus Black Widow, which didn't make quite as much money. And there was a conversation about, well, the fact that it was released on streaming impacted those numbers. Like, well, doesn't seem like it, but we also have to have a conversation about those 3 months in between. What have those done for people? You can make an argument either way that those 3 months should have been technically worse. And so does that mean that people are feeling better about just going out during the pandemic? Or does that mean that things are actually getting better? Who knows? I don't know.
I think people are adjusting to life in the pandemic, period, regardless of whether or not it's worse or better. People are just like, fuck it, I'm going out.
Yeah.
Fuck it, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing. That's definitely what I'm doing. Granted, I'm wearing a mask everywhere, and I just got my booster shot yesterday, but I'm still like, I've been out a lot more recently than I normally have. Like, I'm going on like in-person business meetings, still wearing a mask everywhere, but still doing in-person business meetings. It's yeah.
Look at this guy, Booster Gold over here. Anybody else, Nick Dahl, would you like to weigh in on these numbers?
Yeah, I agree with you and Jammer in a way, where it's like you should try to look at it, but the dual streaming model really makes it hard to compare a Bond to a Dune. But I don't know. I think you can still compare like a Venom to a Bond.
Yeah, but also
even similar audience, a little skewing younger, but PG-13 action. One's great, one's terrible. So in that way you can almost tell. I don't know. That way it almost
one is still better reviewed than Eternals, or both of them are. Both are still better reviewed than Eternals.
What did Venom 2 end up at?
63%.
Oh,
fresh.
Damn. I just assumed it was below 50 like the first one. I actually never looked at the reviews.
All those people were drinking Drano before they went and reviewed that shit. But anyway.
Well, that's
anything else on box ups? That is how you cure COVID. It's that. Well, drinking Drano is how you walk off a roof, but I forget what is it. What's the thing that? And just to be clear, that's a Batman '89 reference, not like not anything
what the hell
else.
is that?
Yeah,
Oliver,
like
shut up. Oliver, hey,
there's someone on your roof drinking.
I don't remember when that's in Batman '89.
They were talking about he said something about this guy walked off a roof. And he's like, what are they seeing up there, detective? And he's like, they're drinking Drano.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just totally obscure line. It's not one that you remember. It's not like think about the future, Eckhart. Anyway, nothing on numbers. Moving on. Some good old casting. You guys ready to talk about casting? You ready to talk about movie casts?
Yeah.
Sure.
Casting. Talking about casting. Not the movie. Not the movie.
So here's the thing.
Go out there and
Here's the
watch
thing.
for
Production.
hours.
Here's the thing.
Casting. Not production, baby. Casting. What's the thing, Jammer?
So say casting, Danny.
Casting.
Say
Costing.
Say manga. Say
What are you doing here?
I'm trying to understand the different British accents and which ones go when they should go but you're saying costing instead of casting, because some go and some go call, but I don't know where the difference and where they grow up is, because the British have like a million accents and I don't know.
A different show. It could be its own show.
Well, I'm from further down south where we speak more proper language. Like we
Okay,
speak
that's
properly
fair.
down here. We speak the Queen's English down here. Up north, they don't speak
Queens.
proper.
Fair enough.
Anyway,
All right.
Jonesy, as
Costume.
you were.
That's it.
That
All
was it.
right.
This is language discussion with Jammer and Danny.
Linguistics, super important
Tune
because we have to be able to
in
understand
next
each other.
week for our segments where we break down the schwa and whether or not it exists.
So we got a lot of casting news out of Hollywood, as we tend to do sometimes. We were hearing things about Christopher Nolan's next film. It's going to be his tentpole film for Universal Pictures. We already knew that Cillian Murphy was going to be starring in the film as
I believe that's Cillian Murphy.
Is it Cillian?
I think so.
I think so too.
All right, Cillian Murphy. See, I need to be from down south where Danny's from so I can understand all these Irish names. Cillian Murphy. That's terrible. I've been saying his name wrong for 16 years. He's going to be starring J. Robert Oppenheimer in the biopic from Christopher Nolan. It's going to be dropping 2023. But we've got two additional names, big names. We've got Matt Damon and Robert Downey Jr. joining Cillian Murphy in this film, as well as Emily Blunt. Are you excited about the cast? Are you curious about the biopic, how this is going to go? What are your thoughts and feelings on Christopher Nolan's latest?
I'll watch the fuck out of it, no matter who's in it. Except for, because I don't know, I say that. I thought I would have watched Tenet by now too. But as I mentioned last week, and Nick, you weren't here last week, so you could let me know what your thoughts are on this. Do you sometimes not watch a film in someone's filmography, or maybe like something in a movie series because you want it just to be there in case you're like, you know what I feel like? I feel like a Christopher Nolan movie I haven't seen yet.
No.
And it's there.
Yeah.
It's there for you, waiting.
I watched it as soon as it was available.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're the only weird one. I didn't see it in
theaters, but I got it for Christmas or something.
Like 10 seconds into the explanations, you should have known the answer was going to be no. No one does that except you. That's so weird.
That's not true.
That's super weird.
That's a fallacy.
Anyway,
Like I might circle back to something if I wasn't in the mood, but I would never intentionally save like a Fincher movie.
No, I
save. Like I haven't seen Panic Room because I haven't wanted to yet, but I have never saved a Fincher film or something.
Okay.
You know? Yeah.
All right. So what was the question again? Oh yeah, I'm gonna see it. I also like.
You already said you're going to watch the fuck out of it.
Yeah, this is the subject matter. This is the subject matter. I'm intrigued and if what his Nolan twist is going to be on it, if at all, because Dunkirk did have a Nolan twist to it that I wasn't expecting, and
that was boring.
It was a bit boring. I agree with that, but just the time tricks that he was playing with it, I thought was just a way for him to keep himself from getting bored with the plot. And I'm curious if we're going to see something like that.
It didn't work.
But I will say, who's writing this movie? Do we know who's writing this movie?
Well, I mean, yeah, we probably do know. Yeah, it's probably
I don't know why.
His brother.
I want to see Aaron Sorkin write a Christopher Nolan movie.
So that might clash.
It definitely will. I just want to see it because it'll be interesting.
It says at Deadline he is writing and directing this film, which is kind of surprising.
Oh, usually he works with somebody at least, but I guess not this time around.
Even Tenet and stuff.
Today.
I have to go back.
Today.
I just think the most interesting part about the news is like.
Yeah, you're right. He wrote Tenet.
It's that Robert Downey Jr. is the most not surprising but interesting casting choice out of those, because we've seen Matt Damon in Nolan before. But I don't know. I'm interested to see Robert Downey Jr.'s persona mesh with a Nolan film. Though he's a good actor, it's not like he'll be the guy he plays most of the time, which is a version of Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, I think right now Emily Blunt and him are the ones that we haven't seen before. Other than that, we've seen Cillian Murphy before. We've seen Matt Damon.
A lot.
Just said,
yep. A lot of Cillian.
All the Cillian. Yeah,
all the Cillians.
Some of the Cillians. Danny,
you're on mute, dude.
Nope.
You're muted.
What? Oh, there you go. I'm excited about the film. The casting looks pretty damn good. I'll be honest with you. I'm with Jam on this. I'm definitely gonna watch it. Absolutely 100%. But he's gonna have to do so because it's not, as far as we know, it's not a straight out biopic, is it? He's gonna have some sort of twist.
So this is being described as a biopic.
So maybe it is that. Maybe it's just going to be a flat out, the story of Oppenheimer's life, or a certain section of his life, the more famous area of his life, maybe. Do we know anything other than the cast at the moment?
No,
Cast?
as far as we know. What's funny? I don't know how Dunkirk is described. What does that build at?
I think it's just a historical. I don't know. That's a good question. Hold on, look it up. I'll look it up.
So it says that it is
war film.
Can't find it. War film. So I think that there's potentially room for him to play in there, but I think you guys are right. I'm curious what, if any, because to the best of my knowledge, he's never made a straightforward film. There's always something to it.
The
Like, what if
studio
it's
one
like
he had
it's
to
like
do.
it's like maybe it starts off with maybe the launch, not the launch, or the dropping of the bomb,
Yeah.
and it like flashes back
That's what I
Slumdog
was
Millionaire
thinking.
style to like
Is
here's
it
how the
weird?
different aspects of his life contributed to this moment in time at a specific
Every time
moment.
they count down 5, it cuts back for like 30 minutes. That was like
There you
4.
go.
It cuts back to a different 30 minutes of his life.
It's weird that the most straightforward movies that he has made are the
Stop it,
Batman
Mitch.
movies.
Yeah. And
That's really strange.
isn't
Why is
Insomnia
that weird?
100% straightforward?
Oh, dude, I didn't see Insomnia since it came out in theaters, so I don't
I
fucking
like-
remember.
Yeah, I don't remember.
But not even the first one. You did like his
Even the first
flashbacks.
one.
The first
Yeah,
Batman.
it's twisted.
First
Oh,
Batman's
yeah.
twisty.
Yeah.
But the other
Well,
two
he
are
makes-
100% straight forward.
Did he make Insomnia, the Robin Williams? And
Yeah. That was
that
like
was a
Pacino.
straightforward film. That there
Yeah,
wasn't
thriller.
any twistery tomfoolery in that one.
But that was
straight up.
before he had the power.
Well, that was after Memento, right? Which was cheap. And then that got him this movie. And then doing a more classic studio movies was able to get him into something like Batman.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I stand corrected. He has done straight
But,
ahead movies.
but
before.
they were more early on in his career when he didn't have
Yeah.
the power to like if he was doing something that was like a mid-budget movie, he had to play ball until later on in his career where he was
But I
able
would
to do big budget
argue-
weird shit.
I would argue that Memento was sufficiently twisty enough that
But that was
his
low
next
budget, wasn't
film-
it?
It was, but then his next film, like Danny said, was and Nick as well, that was Insomnia. So that was relatively straightforward. Then he made the Batman.
But Insomnia was 46 million.
Yeah.
That was a mid-budget movie. Memento was 9 million. So it's like
Yeah.
stakes were lower.
But
So-
then between each Batman movie, he'd go a little crazy. Like Prestige. It's between
Yeah,
Batman
Prestige.
movies. Inception's
Twisted.
between Batman movies.
he made the $125 million, Batman Begins, and it was successful. And so he had like a little bit of cachet. Wait,
You know what? I'm gonna twist some shit up, baby. Gonna get twisted.
yeah. He had a little bit of good faith
But
in his career.
it's funny. It's funny we're bringing this up, repeatedly mentioning Batman, because we got some Batman news this week. We've got a synopsis for next year's Batman. You guys ready?
I'm
Yeah,
ready.
All right. The Batman is an edgy, action-packed thriller that depicts Batman in his early years, struggling to balance rage with righteousness as he investigates a disturbing mystery that has terrorized Gotham. Robert Pattinson delivers a raw, intense portrayal of Batman as a disillusioned, desperate vigilante awakened by the realization that the anger consuming him makes no better. Wait, what? Consuming him makes him no better. It's so close. It was so close. It's written weird. Makes him no better than the ruthless serial killer he's hunting.
So here's the thing that
Here's the
I don't
thing.
like that synopsis. It reminds me of a studio trying to appeal to teens. So did anybody, and I know the answer to this question before I ask it, nobody remembers the awful Wolverine manga that was released in 2009. It had the worst synopsis. It was
Oh,
like,
no. I
this
remember.
is-
Oh, wait, not manga. Anime?
no, manga.
Manga. No, I don't remember that one.
This is not the Wolverine you know. Logan is a teenage rebel with a real good reason for having a real bad attitude. It sounds like that. It
That's
sounds
terrible.
like along those lines. in terms of like, oh, this isn't your dad's Batman. He's edgy and he has angst and he's vengeance. Granted, the movie looks better than that synopsis, but I just don't like the way the synopsis is phrased.
Yeah, I think it's weird. You don't have to, for a known property, I don't think you have to rely on edgy, action-packed. Like,
yeah, that was weird. Who wrote that?
Just say Batman.
What boomer wrote that line?
Matt Reeves.
Edgy. Who wants edgy in there? Edgy. I hate that word. Edge.
So edgy for that opinion.
Hardly.
Danny, do you like the synopsis?
No, it does make it sound like they're trying too hard to sell something that really doesn't need a hard sell. I think most of us are bought in already by the trailer. I think the trailer did all the good stuff, right? It's made that synopsis kind of leaves a bit of a bad taste in the mouth compared to how good the trailers have been. So it's kind of like, well, you didn't need to do that. I'm with Nick. They could have just said Batman and then put the release date and be done with it.
Yeah. Alternatively, they could have flip-flopped these, right? So they could have released this the week before they released that new trailer and no one would be talking about this shit. Now we're like, oh, what is this? So
Yeah, true. It's not,
Anyway.
I mean,
Is
yeah.
this a new film that's coming out after that trailer one that we saw? Have they got another one coming already?
There is Flash. So there are multiple Batman movies in production.
All the Batman. So yeah, I agree with you guys.
All the bat sources and all the batsmen couldn't put Batman together again.
Couldn't put Robin back together again. He got blown.
Ooh, that's better.
Snap.
Beat down with a crowbar.
Oh,
Yeah.
Sorry. Too soon. It's like 30 years ago.
too soon, Jonesy.
So what's funny about that? My stepdad was here this week, and I loved, like, he didn't know anything about Jason Todd because he saw the trailer, and so he had kind of this reaction. He's like, "Oh, it was just too grim. It was too dark." He's like, "I don't remember Batman being like that." And I was like, "What are you talking
Fucking
about?"
my mom does this shit all. So this literally, I've had this conversation with her probably a million times ever since 1989 when the fucking original one came out.
Mm-hmm.
Her opinion and the way she phrases it has not changed from that day. She's like, I don't like Batman when he's dark. He's not dark. And I was like, yeah, he is. And she's like, well, I grew up with the Adam West Batman. That's all we know. And then yet we've had a million Batman since then. And she still says, I grew up with the Adam West Batman. That's all I know. I'm like, no, it's not. You've seen the Batman 89 movie. You've seen fucking Batman Returns. You've seen Batman Begins. You've seen The Dark Knight. You've seen The Dark Knight Rises. You've seen fucking Joker. And yet, that's all I know.
You left out the two
Adam
that
West.
aren't dark.
No, I'm naming the ones that she saw.
I know,
that
but she
were
has also
dark.
seen Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, because I would say those. I watched Batman Forever this week, and I wanted to beat Chris O'Donnell with the crowbar. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
How long has that been in your back pocket, Nick?
Ever since Jonesy said, Danny said too soon.
So yeah, your stepdad is like my mom, apparently.
Yeah, I think it's weird because I started describing. Did you guys know that? I think I was a kid when I realized this, that whether or not Jason Todd was going to live from that explosion, they had a dial-in number and people voted to let him die.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, I knew that when I was a kid. I don't think we ever talked about it on the show. I still think it's fascinating. So
It's pretty cool.
It is cool. I think
I
I
stayed dead
also
for a long time. How long was it until Red Hood came out?
like the 90s.
No, it was way longer than that, wasn't it? Wasn't it like Red Hood?
Maybe Jason Todd, or not Jason Todd. Tim Drake was probably late 90s when he came out. So I don't know. Now I'm gonna have to look.
Oh, Red Hood is old as fuck. 1951.
No. They're probably showing.
That's different.
Yeah, that's Joker Red Hood, I bet.
Oh, you're
Even
right.
before Joker Red Hood, I think it was just Red Hood.
You gotta type in Todd so you can get an accurate
Red Hood Todd.
Red Hood Todd. But I'm gonna do other stuff while you look that up. First appearance, 1983.
No, that's Jason Todd's first appearance.
Jason Todd. God damn it, this is annoying. You look.
Yeah.
I'm gonna host.
Okay.
God damn it, I can't research and host at the same time. Anyway, moving back on to casting news. We've got some other interesting news coming out of the world we've got Zack Snyder's Netflix film Rebel Moon. That's going to be coming out relatively soon, I think. And so that's going to be starring Sofia Boutella. And I don't know if you all are familiar with her. She was in Atomic Blonde as well as The Mummy.
And Star Trek.
And Star Trek. You're right.
Star Trek Beyond.
2004.
Kingsman.
2004.
Okay.
Wow, that is more recent. I thought Kingsman, she has the knife leg or the knife legs.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm kind of excited for the casting.
Yeah, very nice legs and very nice hair.
What's this? What are you guys talking about? I was too busy researching to hear the news.
Rebel Moon casting. So Sofia Boutella.
Yeah, I like her.
I do too.
She had like a break recently. Like she was in things for a while and then she just stopped being in things.
Yeah, I think the last
why.
thing I recall her in was
The Mummy fucked it up.
Atomic Blonde. Oh, The Mummy. That was it. Yeah, The Mummy fucked it up. That was it. She was on the rise.
because she was in Star Trek after that.
Was she?
I think Star Trek came out.
Oh, you're right. You're right. But Star Trek also kind of failed. So
that's not her fault. She was actually awesome in that.
No,
Yeah.
I'm sure she was great,
Jayla.
but I'm saying like career-wise, it just wasn't necessarily the greatest. And then unfortunately, she was in Atomic Blonde, which is awful. I don't like Atomic.
I like Atomic Blonde.
I thought a lot of
I don't
people
like
liked
Atomic
it. I just didn't
I
see
like
it.
Atomic Blonde.
I don't like Atomic. No one likes it.
I just like watching Charlize Theron
Jonesy
beat up
does.
people. Yeah,
No, he
she's just
doesn't.
beating the shit out of people. I do.
No,
I
you don't.
do.
You really don't. You
I do.
don't.
I
Stop
do.
lying.
I
No.
do.
Uh-uh.
I'm
I
getting my
just like
popcorn.
saying-
Popcorn's
Yeah,
ready.
just like the Roger Rabbit, I do. You don't. I do. Nick's balls. Anyway, moving on. Got some more casting news coming out of Hollywood. Apparently, there's only one voice actor in Hollywood, and you better know his goddamn name. It's Pratt. So, Chris Pratt is going to be starring as Garfield in a new animated feature. Hollywood Reporter is reporting, as they tend to do. Yeah, more than his casting as Garfield, I'm like, who wants another animated Garfield?
Nobody.
Nobody wants
Wait,
that.
who's producing it? Is it Illumination?
No, it's being
Illumination.
produced by
Illumination.
It is being produced by, so it's going to be scripted by David Reynolds, who did Finding Nemo. So that's actually a plus. And it's going to be directed by Mark Dindal, who directed Chicken Little. So it'll be interesting. And yeah, I think that the writer and directors they have lined up.
Chicken Little, not Chicken Run. I'm less excited now.
Okay.
What?
Nothing.
I read a great tweet about how this
What's your
actually
tweet?
went down. I'm sure it's
How'd it go
100% true. Executive
Definitely.
number 1, get me that guy from Parks and Recreation. Executive number 2, not knowing who he's talking about, grabs Pratt. He's like, I meant Nick Offerman. Because he'd be a great Garfield.
He would be. That's actually pretty good. That would be pretty awesome.
And that's not mine.
Anyway.
I stole that from a tweet that I'm not crediting because I don't know where it is.
You know,
Fine.
just, yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Anybody else have any reactions to the Garfield news before we move on?
My
Another
question
bit
is
of
why
costume.
is it news? Why are we talking about it? It's
Because
weird.
I
Pratt's
just
being
thought it was
cast in
interesting.
everything.
Yeah.
Like that was the big, that was
It's
just
like-
Twitter for days has been like Chris Pratt cast
I don't
to voice
dislike
Chris Pratt
Chris Pratt.
in animated film, or like Chris Pratt cast. There were some ones that people believed and they got pissed off because they didn't catch on that it was a joke. It was
I
like
don't-
my favorite
this-
one, Chris Pratt
Chris
cast
Pratt-
to voice Link in Legend of Zelda movie. That was my
No,
favorite.
but my
one.
favorite one is Chris Pratt replaces Scarlett Johansson in the Ghost in the Shell movie. I think that was my favorite one.
Oh
That's
yeah,
a
I
good
did
one.
see that.
But you know what's funny about Chris Pratt as Link? He would actually be really good if they were going for if they were going for like the 90s version of Link. Do you remember that? Excuse me, princess.
That was
Do you remember
80s.
that? Was it 80s?
Yeah.
Whatever. But you know what I'm talking about, right? Like
Yeah.
if they were going to go for that, that would
You
be
don't
the
want to go
voice.
for that. Why would you want to go for that?
I'm just saying if you were going to. Like ironically, it's been
Link
enough
is
time.
dark
We can live with
now.
that.
No,
You know
he's
what
just
used to
not
be
that.
No kidding.
They
Have
could
you
make it
played Wind Waker? Make it Wind Waker. Oh, I would watch the fuck out of a
No,
Wind Waker
you can't
anime.
make
You're the
Legend
only
of
one. Like a
Zelda
lot of
movie.
people complain about Wind Waker. I don't
Fuck it.
understand.
No,
that.
they don't. No, they don't.
Yes,
Wind
they
Waker's
do. Yes,
amazing.
they do.
No,
People complain about the animation
no.
style all the time.
No,
They hate it.
People love
the
it.
I
fucking-
love it. No. Listen, I love it. Listen, I'm not arguing with you.
12
It looks
The
gorgeous. It's a good
12-year-old
game.
edge lords are the ones who are just like, oh, give me a fucking Wolverine who has a good reason to have a bad attitude. Give me that shit instead. Give me the edgy Batman. Not my daddy's Batman.
I'm not disagreeing with you that it's a gorgeous game. I'm just saying that it is a thing. You know it's a thing.
I thought it was a thing before the game came out, but I also thought that the 15 years since then, people have grown the fuck up, but apparently not.
9.
Why do I
Guys,
have to live?
Because we love you.
Okay.
Good enough. Trailers. You guys want some trailers?
Yeah.
We got trailers.
Yeesh.
For trailers. We've got 2 trailers this week. We've got Morbius coming from Sony Pictures. I think this is going to be interesting. So we've got Jared Leto playing Morbius. This is the second trailer we've gotten for this.
I think so.
And this, yeah. And it's going to be dropping in January of 2022. And we got to see a little bit more of the film. Got to see a little bit more of his powers. And this is weird. I remember when I saw the Venom trailer and I was like, that's going to be shit. When I watched this, I was like, I don't know that this is going to be bad. I can't tell.
I felt the same way. I was like, it feels like it could be fun.
It's got a chance.
Yeah.
It has a chance. I'm holding on to the hope that this is just somehow good. Because you know what it actually gave me, which is weird to say, it gave me Blade 2 vibes. So like there was something about the production, and I was like, you know what? I'm into this. And I just hope
is it the Mahershala Ali? Was he in that?
No, not yet.
He wasn't?
Not yet.
Not in Blade 2.
He's going to be.
No, I'm not talking about Blade 2. I'm talking about in this trailer.
I don't think so.
Oh, sorry.
No.
Oh, that's Tyrese. Racist bastard.
It's like a robot arm or some shit.
I think it's just broken. I think they just put it in a cast.
Oh, okay. It looks weird. It doesn't look like a normal cast.
Compound fracture, baby. I don't know. You could be right. It definitely looked like a cast to me, but it definitely could be like a robot arm.
Is he like the guy from Mortal Kombat?
No, he's like Roman Pierce. That's what he always is.
Oh, never mind. I'm done.
Does anyone else have any thoughts or feelings about the Morbius trailer?
I like the visual style of like him flying and like seeing stuff, echolocation. I think it's, and I just think the visuals in general just look better than the Venom movies, at least out of the trailer.
Yeah. I agree.
And I don't know. I still don't think it'll be good though, just because.
Why?
God damn it, Nick! Don't ruin it.
Why, Nick?
Tony's track record going back all the way to Amazing Spider-Man.
You can't base it off the track record. You can't base it on a track record. Just like look at the evidence in front of you. The evidence in front of you is the trailer. That's the objective evidence. Good. Okay.
It's the most interesting to me is that a lot of people pointed out that there's like stuff from every universe in it. Like you have Adrian Toomes, the Oscorp Tower is the same as Amazing Spider-Man. The newspaper is the same as Amazing Spider-Man. There's some like the Raimi Spider-Man is still on the wall. Yeah. Like they didn't change that, even though it's just a picture from the video game apparently. Mm-hmm. So that they're making these are all choices. Obviously, that wasn't just if they haven't changed that, then that wasn't it's not an accident. There's a Tobey Maguire Spider-Man.
And then the Venom joke I thought was pretty funny.
Yeah, the Venom joke is hilarious.
Yeah,
I missed that. What was
that?
Like,
at the very end,
said something like, "This is that thing from San Francisco" or something like that.
No, the other part was like, "I am Venom," and he's like, "Just kidding, I'm Doctor Whatever at your service."
Dr. Morbius.
Did I miss that? I don't remember that.
Yeah,
I think there's an international one and a non-international one.
Oh, you know what?
I think I've only seen the international one.
You show here this isn't the trailer that you have. We don't have the trailer in the chat.
No, we do.
No,
he has a link to the trailer also.
But he's not where?
The one that's just a code. There's no graphic for it.
Jammer.
We're great at our job. What do you mean
jammer?
Don't jammer me.
I guess whatever. I didn't notice that he said, "I am Venom." I
don't remember that.
I maybe just pick up that bit, but I do remember that scene where he said, "I'm just kidding, I'm Dr. Morbius."
Yeah, that's why he says, "I'm just kidding." It's because that's why he says, "I am Venom." And then
so is that in the vignette or is that in the trailer?
It's in both.
No, it's not in the
vignette. Was in the trailer.
Oh, it's in the trailer.
That was in the trailer because I definitely saw that, Jonesy.
Man,
he like does the face and everything where it changes, and you're like, "I have Venom," and then he changes back. He's like, "Just kidding."
Interesting.
It is like a criminal or someone, but
that's good.
I think it's also in a convenience store. But
I'm gonna have to go back and watch it because I don't remember that.
You should have said "we."
But I guess I was scrolling through this vignette thinking it was the trailer. And I'm like, I could have sworn there was like a lot more scenes. And then I realized this wasn't the trailer. This was the fucking vignette. Or
you know what's funny, Nick? You sent out a tweet about the white Spider-Man symbol on the symbiote, and that's the thing that drives you nuts. Not saying "we" is the thing that bugs the shit out of me about Venom, because I don't like that they didn't use that to distinguish between Cletus Cassidy and Venom. So where Cletus Cassidy and Carnage say "I," because they're so insane that they fit together, and Venom and Eddie Brock say "we," because they are still two different personalities. But whatever, fuck that movie.
Also, let's acknowledge the fact that apparently I am racist. That was Tyrese, and I definitely did think that was Mahershala Ali.
Oh, it's weird that you had to go back and mention. Like I'd already accepted your.
No, I know that,
like,
because I was looking. I was just like, was it?
Those are two very different actors, especially quality of.
Wait, are you telling me Tyrese isn't a good actor?
You take that back. Roman Pierce is cold.
Dude, fucking Roman Pierce.
Two-time Oscar winner.
Yeah.
He's the best. He's hungry.
Oh, we hungry.
I'm not gonna say we hungry. I'm gonna say he, because I'm talking about him.
See, that's why I hate you, because you and Venom. You should be saying we.
We
got another trailer this week. We got some books of Boba Fett. Can Boba Fett read? Anyway.
No.
You don't think so?
Absolutely not. No.
I assume he's like the Transformers from that one movie. They couldn't
Transformers?
read good. They couldn't read good.
Oh, the second one?
Oh, the racist.
The totally racist ones. Yeah, the racist ones.
Jamaican robots.
Yeah. We can't read good. Anyway. God damn you, Michael Bay. What do you guys think about this trailer? I didn't feel anything from this.
That's how I felt. I was like, I kind of dug a little bit where it's just like, Jabba ruled from fear. I will rule from respect. I'm like, okay, I can get on board with that. I'm not really sold on any of the action here, but sure, I'll get on board with it. Here's the thing. I'm upset still with Mandalorian season 2 because too much fan service. Too much. Like, fucking stand on your own feet, you piece of shit. But also,
angry.
I hate it. I hated that it made me like Boba Fett. I'm like, oh, I guess I like Boba Fett now. Yeah, I guess I'll watch Book of Boba Fett, because I'm interested in his character now because of what they did with him in the show.
Also for the podcast. But go ahead.
I know that, but I would watch it anyway. And so I am still invested in what this character can do and where they'll take him, even if this trailer's kind of bleh.
Okay.
I'll agree. It did nothing for me too. And it feels like it's even going to be even bigger fan service than The Mandalorian. It's like, look, here's like 5 shots of his hut. And
it's a little less frustrating for me though, because it's Boba Fett. Like, it's not trying to say we're not Boba Fett. We're gonna be off on our own thing. Whereas Mandalorian did, and this one is like, okay, we are fan service.
I mean, I wish I never brought him back still at this point. Like, I like the mysterious Boba Fett who didn't do anything. I don't want to see the actor from the Clone Wars playing Boba Fett, as I call him, because he's much, much wider than the original actor.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Part of it's
body
muscle.
shaming Nick Dahl.
It's mostly muscle, but it's the same thing. My friend used to call Ben Affleck's Batman Fat Man, just because he's so wide, because he's so muscular. Makes him look stout.
Hey, can you change Nick's name on Zoom to Nick Body Shame Doll? Because that's just uncool.
It just doesn't look like Boba Fett. The costume doesn't look right on him. Like, I look at
which is weird though, because it is him. So people just get old.
No, but he wasn't wearing the I mean, they used to
in the
make
original
that
movie.
joke.
They had a skinny dude.
I just think that
was
this has been a
taller
30-year
and-
campaign to make Boba Fett cool, right?
Well, I remember they called
cool.
freaking a newspaper I read in freaking 1990 or 2000.
They use frickin'.
When they first used Jango Fett, they called him Jango Fat. So that joke's been around forever.
Oh,
But he wasn't fat.
I mean,
he was skinnier back then. The same actor.
He was
Jango
jacked.
looked the same as
that didn't stop them from calling him Jango Fat.
So I remember seeing Once We're Warriors. That was the first thing I ever saw him in when I was in high school. And when I saw that he was going to be Jango Fett, who is based on Boba Fett, I was really excited. But having seen him in Once We're Warriors, he was just like pretty in shape dude and stayed that way for Clone Wars, but whatever.
Okay, because that was the other thing. It's been how long? Like, has it been like it's been almost 20 years.
Yes.
Over 20 since they started the originals, but he wasn't in the first one.
I mean,
So
no,
obviously,
but
as you
right-
age, it's harder to stay in shape, especially when you're not doing a lot of movies.
Are you walking back your fat shame criticism? Is that what's happening here?
No, that's the whole point. Obviously, he's going to be more heavier because it's 20 years older.
Yes, we know that. You're the only one who didn't know that. You really.
No, that's why. That's one of the reasons why I call him Boba Fett. It's because he's an older actor, not old as in like old person. Just like he was more in his prime in
20 years more than
2002 or something. I'm a very different person than I was 20 years ago, size wise.
Well, like Boba Fett. Yeah, it's funny because like Boba Fett, like, yeah, it's not consistent. I'll give you that. But I do like the way Boba Fett looks now more than he did back on Empire and the other one, Return of the Jedi. Because he looks kind of like, you look back at that, I'm like, he kind of looks wimpy. He looks kind of scrawny.
Because
he's
pretty skinny in those
I'm going to body shame the other way. He looks scrawny. He looks like a wimp. Whereas if you see Boba Fett from the fucking show, like Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett, it's like, fuck, I do not want to mess with that guy.
Yeah,
that guy can beat the shit out of me. He could like punch me. He could like punch me, like, you know, like in those freaking cartoony movies or the cartoons where you have that big guy and then he punches someone in the head and they go poof, and they just fall backwards. He would do that to you. He would punch you at the top of your head and knock you out.
Raiders of the Lost Ark punch. He hits and then he just immediately hits the ground.
I don't get that same feeling from Boba Fett from Empire and Return of the Jedi. So
agreed. This is really probably the project I'm least interested in out of all the Disney announced ones.
They've gotten me to
but I'm gonna watch Boba Fett. Obviously.
I never thought we'd be here.
All right, Danny, you're the last hope. You're the Return of the Jedi. You're the, I don't even know what to call it. How do you feel about this trailer? Yay or nay?
Can I have the one in the middle? Can I have the one in the middle? Yeah, I was super excited when it dropped, and then I turned it on and watched the 2 minutes, and then when it was over, my face went in a okay, I'll still watch it, but it did nothing for me. It didn't get me super excited like The Mandalorian did when it came out. However, I'm not so upset that it will be fan service kind of one. I think this fits perfectly. It is Boba Fett, like Jammer said. We're going to get all the references. We're going to get Jabba's palace. We'll probably see some familiar faces in there, and so. But I'm okay with all that stuff personally. But the trailer
Danny,
is different for me. Yeah, go ahead.
Say Jabba.
Jabba.
See, he said Jabba.
Jabba.
And yet you say cost and not cast.
Well, what is the correct way to say it though? Because this is
it's not about correct
names. Is it Jabba or Jabba?
Well, it's not the right or wrong way. I'm just interested in where you go versus That's it.
Oh no, I see what you mean, but I think with this particular instance, it's a name, isn't it? So I might be pronouncing the name wrong.
Oh,
like Boba or Boba.
I don't know if there is.
Is it
a
Boba
right
Fett or
like,
Boba Fett?
I think it's Boba.
I think
it is Boba, but that's a name, right? So is it Jabba or Jabba?
I mean, I say Jabba, but I don't know if that's correct or incorrect. Now you got me second guessing things. Sorry, continue talking.
No, I was done. I was done. The trailer, that was it. That was it. I'll watch it, but the trailer didn't do it for me.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
I agree. Anything else? Anything else on this before we move on?
Nope.
They say nay. All right. Are you guys ready to talk about Eternals? So how do you guys want to handle this? 50%.
Just before you do that, Jonesy.
Yes.
Sorry, Jonesy. Just before we do it, I don't recall a conversation that I've heard you guys have about how you felt about the Harry Potter franchise. Fans or not fans?
Fan.
Not fan.
Because Chris Columbus has said he's very keen to direct the Cursed Child with the original cast because he thinks they're the perfect age to do it now, and he's just said that he would like to do that with the original cast.
He's the worst of all the directors who worked on those movies.
Cursed,
whatever.
Cursed Child.
I haven't read it yet, which is weird because I bought it. I should. I've heard.
It's like I read it and I was like, I was entertained in the moment, but then afterwards I was like, oh, that breaks things. They break the time travel element in the series because time travel.
I haven't read it. That's what I wondered. I haven't read it. That's why I wonder what you guys' opinion was. I didn't know if you guys even liked the franchise, the series, the film.
I am not a fan of the Cursed Child. It doesn't feel canon, even though it technically is. Because the time travel way it's done in Prisoner of Azkaban is everything that is going to happen happens, period. Like it's circular. So like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
By that?
You can't be changed.
Whereas the Cursed Child is all about changing time, changing things. So it doesn't fall in step with what was previously established in the book. So I don't consider it canon. I mean, fuck it. I'll watch it. I don't give a fuck. I'll watch the movie, but like, I don't think it'll be great. I don't have a problem with Chris Columbus though, even though I think I agree they were the weakest movies.
Yeah, I think the worst Harry Potter director is still a really good director because all of those movies are good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
okay, sorry, James.
Except I don't like the fifth one.
That drop, so I was interested to know what you guys thought.
It's not a bad movie though.
It's not, and it's grown with time. It's gotten better with time for me. But I'm also like, I also remember really liking book 5 and not liking movie 5. But then I did not care for book 6, but I loved movie 6. So
I don't know why there are things that stick out to me about book 5 that I remember and wishing I had seen in the movie. Like for whatever reason, there's this one particular interaction that I wish was in the movie where he calls Mad Eye Moody professor. He's like, I am not, nor have I ever been your professor. I don't know why that moment matters to me. And that
it wasn't in the movie, you mean?
It was not in the movie, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we all have those things. Like in Prisoner of Azkaban, they never reveal who made the Marauders map, which they really should have. That would have taken 3 or 4 lines of dialogue.
Yeah.
That's it. And it would have cleared things up. And the other thing that bothered me about the movies overall is we never see Harry get that shard of the mirror that he uses to look at Aberforth, Dumbledore. But he's just holding it in movie 8 randomly out of nowhere.
Right.
And it's just like, there's no reason for it.
I'm gonna have to go back and see if there is an explanation for that in the movies. Because you're
right. I don't think there is. I mean, maybe I missed it, but I feel like I've watched those movies a fuck ton. Like I probably watch them at least once a year.
Yeah, those are definitely comfort. So Danny, to your original question, just like Jammer, for me, those are like comfort movies where I'm like, I want to watch something, just flick one on. Even more so probably than Lord of the Rings. So
yeah, for me, sure. I mean, it's easy to throw Harry Potter 1 and 2 on for Christmas.
Yep.
During Christmas season.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Sorry, Jonesy.
No, that's fine. To my original question, how do you guys want to handle this? So half of us have seen this movie, half of us have not. Do you guys want to put on earmuffs? Do you want to hang around for anything?
I'm okay. I'm okay to listen to spoilers, listen to whatever you say about it.
Give me your most general reactions, and I'll probably hop off for the podcast.
Okay.
So
okay.
It's not spoiled.
I can do that. All right. So here we go. Eternals is out right now. It is 2 hours and 37 minutes. It has a 49% on Rotten Tomatoes from the critics and an 89% from the audience. Yes, it has. And a 53% on Metacritic, which I think are really fascinating numbers. So the description, we've got the Eternals, a race of immortal beings with superhuman powers who have secretly lived on Earth for thousands of years, reunite to battle the evil deviants. Directed by Chloe Zhao, stars Angelina Jolie and Kit Harington and Richard Madden and Jimmy Chan, Selma Hayek.
That's all accurate information. That's all accurate information.
Trying to up my game. So just making shit up.
So it has one of those gaps in
thigh gaps
score and
why.
Rotten Tomato reviews. It's got one of those big gaps so far, at least. Maybe only the Marvel people.
So this is it has the prestige of being the only MCU film with a rotten score. So that's what we're dealing with right now. And knowing that, Jammer, non-spoiler impressions. Nick is waiting with anticipation. What's happening?
Come on.
What are you doing?
My computer just took a shit on me. So it's like everything froze.
Do it off the dome.
All my Bluetooth
fuck it. Do it live.
Disconnected, like my mouse and then my headphones. So I can't do anything. I'm just sitting here.
We can hear you. Just do it live.
I can't hear you. So.
Oh. Yeah, I'm gonna. Okay, so while he's trying to fix his thing, I'll give my impressions. So overall, it feels kind of empty, and I think it's because this isn't too big of a spoiler. There isn't a prominent antagonist in the film for much of it. I didn't really care too much about the deviants, and what I liked about this movie is it helped me hone in on what I didn't like about Dune, because you're left in these moments spending time with these characters, and I'm having trouble like relating or caring about them. And there is no antagonist that you care about to be seen for extended periods of time. And so for me, it was just kind of dull and empty. It is beautiful. It looks really good. And I have read that Chloe Zhao insisted on filming a lot of this stuff in real locations, and it shows. Like, I cannot think of a better looking Marvel movie. But the pacing is just not right. I don't think I'd give it a 2 out of 10 like Manny did. But I think I'd be closer to like a 6 out of 10. Yeah, that's about where I'm at. What are your questions?
Here yet?
No, he's not.
Cat.
You got a cat. You got a cat. Based on that, Nick or Danny, you guys have any questions based off of that?
No, I don't. I'm really interested to see the film now, not just based on what you just said, but I didn't realize they had an audience score yet. And you said it was, what did you say, 89, a high 80s?
89.
So once again, we've got that real big split. I mean, it doesn't happen too often, but it does happen sometimes, where we had that real big split between audience loving it so far and critics not liking it. I like the look of the trailers. I was a little bit concerned in the trailers that there was a lot of stuff going on that they needed to explain, but I figured the over 2.5 hour runtime was going to do a good job with that. Doesn't sound like it does.
No, it does.
So
it does.
So
oh, great. Jump. Where's my popcorn?
No.
Go.
So it does a lot to, it's got a lot of jobs, right?
What doesn't explain?
No, I said it has a lot of jobs. It has a lot of jobs. It's trying to be creation myth for the MCU, right? Like, we're trying to explain this is where cosmic powers come from. This is where all of this shit is distilled from. But it's also trying to help you care about these characters, and they're also trying to be superheroes at the same time. And there is a lot going on. And yeah, you're right. It is a long movie, and at least for me, it was unbalanced in dealing with all of those things. I think they probably either needed a smaller cast or in a better focus, and that would have helped some of that. Potentially, they could have done, like with the Infinity Stones, it took multiple movies before we even really understood what those were. And so here is the birth of the goddamn universe, and we're going to explain it in one movie, but also please care about these people. And so I think that with those things, it was okay. It's not a bad movie. It's just not a particularly good one. Jammer,
is it better than Dark World?
I think that
no.
So it's hard.
Not worse than Thor: The Dark World. It's way better. It's way better than the worst Marvel movies for sure.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
No.
Yes, it is.
So I think I liked it better than Captain Marvel, but not by much. I actively dislike Captain Marvel. I think Thor: The Dark World is fine, but here's the thing. I think that Tom Hiddleston is endlessly entertaining. And the closest you've got to that in this movie is Kumail Nanjiani, who tries to and I don't want to say it like it's a bad thing. He manages to steal almost every scene he's in. He's really good. But then he does something inexplicable in the end that just
That's not inexplicable. It's explicable. You just don't like that it happened.
I get it, but I don't. You're right. I don't like it. And I'll explain why when Nick pops off. And so, yeah, why don't you go ahead and give your thoughts, Jammer, and then Nick can pop off, because I don't think there's a way for us to talk about the rest of any of Danny's questions without getting into spoilers.
So I will say, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Nice haircut, by the way.
Because my computer can't, I literally can't use my computer. So I'm just hoping this works. So it does not feel like a Marvel movie for the most part. Its characters are not its strength. And I feel like Marvel movies are all about character. But this movie is more interested in themes than it is in characters. Ambitious themes, as well as sort of fantastical, high fantasy tone that no Marvel movie has really done successfully up to this point. I guess Jonesy might argue they still haven't, but I think they really did a good job with really setting itself apart in many different ways, focusing on those themes, And yes, having the characters, for me at least, making it emotionally investment enough to where the stuff matters, but not to the point where you would get like Avengers Endgame or like some of the better Marvel movies. So if you're looking for your typical Marvel movie, this isn't it, but I still think it has something very unique to offer.
Yeah, I think the thing that I would add to that is just so you understand the difference between Jammer and I. He is someone that respects a moonshot that is a fail, whereas I do not.
I don't think this is a fail though.
No. I'm just saying like you respect the idea of like going big and maybe not making it there. My impression of this is something that did go like it goes big. It's like, hey, this is how the universe came to be, baby. And it just does not get there for me. Jammer, was that the conclusion of your spoiler-free thoughts?
I was worried about being bored, and I was not bored. I was engaged throughout the entire time.
I feel like I saw this movie with you because there was a woman next to me, like openly weeping towards the end.
Yeah, that was me.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I was like, huh.
But I have to say this. There's this jump scare at the very beginning, like within the first 10 shots of the movie. There's this jump scare, and this girl, a couple seats down, went like, and her popcorn in a bowl all over the place. And her boyfriend was just like cracking up next to her.
Wait, are you talking about by the water?
Yeah.
Somebody literally says it's coming.
Yeah, but don't mind. I didn't fucking drop the popcorn.
I know. I'm just saying, like, it can't be a jump scare if somebody else screams like it's coming. And
yeah, I know, but I think
like...
it got there. It got there sooner than they thought it was going to get there.
And she thought.
We've all had that problem.
And with that, toodles.
Later.
Bye.
I think you feel some kind of way about that last comment, Danny. It's like I'm out.
So, Danny, what were the other questions that you were wondering? I'm not sure because now we can talk more specifically.
Well, they were more concerns from the trailer. Like there was going to be a lot of stuff. There was a lot of characters in there for a start. There's a lot of Eternals. Plus, they had to have a protagonist. Then they had to have some sort of explanation of what's been going on. And so I was worried that they weren't going to be able to do that. Then the runtime suggested that possibly they were, and this is where Jonesy then shook his head, and you were nodding your head. So
here's the one thing I will say about the characters: they're not as endearing or as engaging as like Avengers. But I think that's also because I think there's a lot of moral gray to a lot of them, and there's a lot of nuance to the point where you can distinguish them very well from each other, but they're maybe not as outwardly entertaining as an Avengers would be. Their personalities aren't necessarily as big for most of them, but they have these sort of defining traits or perspectives on life that I thought were very interesting to think about. And I thought they really took advantage of sort of the differences of opinion they might have on things. Like one of them who basically turned on them 1,000 years ago and his perspective on humanity, or this one guy who invents things and he feels guilty and loses hope in humanity. And then you have this sort of person who essentially has like a fractured mind, and they're constantly, you don't know whether or not this person is going to turn on them or not. And it's just these little things that I think make for maybe not the most engaging character on a singular level, but a lot of a lot of interesting clashes, many character dynamics and clashes between them.
Yep.
Well, I like the idea of moral gray areas because I think that always makes for interesting characters. So I mean, we had one or two in the, should we say, the original Marvels, but Black Widow was always skirted that line a little bit, but never in such a way that you found it really, really interesting in can she turn real bad or can she go real good. So are you saying that there's some characters here that in the future quite possibly could change allegiances, change sides, for want of a better word, to make it black and white, good and bad, etc., etc.?
I think so,
because I'm not familiar with these characters at all. They weren't characters that I'm familiar with from the comics, so I'm completely green with the Eternals.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay,
I don't know how allegiances will fall due to specific situations. And to some of the stuff something that Jonesy alluded to has to do with Kumail Nanjiani's character, who doesn't participate in the climax of the movie. He leaves because of something that happens, and he doesn't come back until everything's over. And it was interesting because he had an interesting perspective on things because of a twist that happens. He has a certain perspective, but he also has an allegiance to another specific character and can't find himself fighting against that person. So he just does it and he just leaves.
So he just leaves, just disappears.
He just leaves.
That's out. Okay.
I think that it was interesting. Maybe it's the execution that I didn't care for.
I the whole time I was waiting for him to come back, and I was a bit disappointed that he didn't come back. I will say that, but I'm not sure I would say he inexplicably left.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. You're right. It's not inexplicable. He explained it. I don't think that it was executed well. And I think what they needed to show, well, they actually did. I really didn't like it. So there was build up to that moment, right? Where he has that consistent conflict and is saying throughout the course of the film, but maybe it just wasn't strong enough. I have a hard time believing, like, within our own lifetimes, we meet people that we are willing to fight and die for, right? And within the scope of their lives, our shit is fleeting. And so it's weird to me that people that have known each other for so long, like thousands of years, are like, meh, fuck it, I'll see you when I see you. And I think
but it wasn't like that though. To me, it was very much they had this conviction that they've had for thousands of years that gets turned on its head, and as a result leads to decisions that are fittingly big in their scope because of just how invested they were in their mission.
I know what bothers me about it. It's law school. Have you guys ever dealt with the trolley problem?
Like when they bring the trolley and you're like, which chocolate do I get?
No.
Are you talking about,
familiar with this?
Are you talking about the one from The Good Place where you can actively kill somebody or let it go and have it kill somebody? Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
so
yes.
this is a law school debate, and, not just a law school debate, but it is a thing that we debated in law school and talked about. All of that conversation that led up to him making that decision was essentially that.
Yeah.
And it was just frustrating that was his choice. And I guess I don't.
You just didn't like his choice.
I didn't like his choice, and mostly because, again, these are people that you supposedly care about, but
they're also like.
I was under the impression that they hadn't, from the trailer, that they hadn't seen each other for hundreds, thousands, millennia.
It's true, hundreds
like
of years.
Hundreds of years, a couple hundred.
It was like 500 years, I think, about.
Yeah,
maybe 300
thousands.
Yeah, so I got the impression that was the case, which I was right. So is that not a reason potentially, because I haven't seen the film, remember, is that not a reason why they're not quite as connected and don't care as much?
No, I would say it'd be like the same of like running into a friend from college after 10 years. You kind of pick up where you left off. You feel like they are a family in a sense. You do get
when
that.
When they do get together, you mean? So gotcha. So
yeah,
when they do get back together again, you don't feel they've been away for 500 years. No. You feel it was 5 minutes. Okay.
Yeah. And the funny thing is they all make up the same lie when they explain who the other person is from. So like there are humans around whenever they meet each other. They're like, oh, this is my friend from college. Like, it's weird that this is like the automatic thing that they come to. My other problem with the film is the reason why I was bored, and to Jammer's point about these characters not being as interesting. So not interesting. They're not you're not as emotionally invested in them, and they're not as entertaining. They're not entertaining. You're not as emotionally invested. And the problem with the movie for me overall is the fact that the antagonist doesn't really show up until way into the movie. And so either you have to be bought into the mythology, you have to be bought into the characters or something before you get to like okay, what the fuck is the point of all of this? And it takes so long to get there that I did not care, because fighting the deviants, don't care. They are wireframe, like they're just metal-ish. They're like biomechanical type looking things. They have no apparent agency early on in the film, and you're just kind of like, all right, what is this? I don't care. And it takes so long. Monster of the
week kind of thing. Monster of the day. Yeah.
I wouldn't say that.
It's just not as interesting. And so I think that I would think of it akin to something like Aliens, right? Aliens was different because it's a pressure cooker. and there's this constant danger. There's always something, like, even if these are faceless, thoughtless killing machines, you're always in danger and people are getting picked off every 5 seconds. This isn't like that. They are not able to create the same tension in
I
this.
disagree.
I didn't think so.
Because I honestly, I was just like, after what happened, I was like, oh, any of these guys could die. I don't know who's going to die next. I was like, oh, I don't know who's going to survive.
I didn't feel the same way.
And I also felt like this movie kind of played out a little bit like a mystery. Where you kind of like, almost like Watchmen, you know, where someone kills one of them and then it's about like getting to the center of why and how.
And so here is where I actually wrote a note on this, and I think that you're right, but I think it was done better in Invincible and in Watchmen.
I haven't read Invincible, so I can't speak to that.
But have you watched the show?
No.
So so I don't want to ruin Invincible. Watchmen, they focus on smaller the scope is smaller.
And they also dig deeper into each character substantially.
Yes. And so all of those things lend to solving that mystery, because at the end of the day, while the mystery and those things are interesting, that is not the most interesting thing about Watchmen. Not at all. You're so invested in Rorschach. You're so invested in Owlman. You're so invested in Dr. Manhattan. Like, by the time you do find out what happens, yeah, it's nice to know, but you're so wrapped up in who these people are.
And that goes back to my point that I thought was your main problem. Characters are not the movie's strength. The focus is on the themes. Yeah. And as a result, you aren't as invested in the movie because you can't get steeped into the characters. It's very much based on where it thematically wants to go and where it kind of takes you plot ways and sort of the more nuanced clashes in dynamics between the wide cast of characters.
I think I also, to believe the thing that they were saying, I needed more human interaction. So the idea of like, we care about these people so much and we can't stand watching them die, I needed human avatars to stand in for that. And so, Danny, what you see throughout the course of the film is they move from different society to different society. And at one point, like, you're seeing people die.
Would it have been better if they inserted a Russian family into the middle of the movie?
Yes, that is exactly what I needed. But I think it's hard to believe their connection to humanity without that, because most of the time what you see is just them interacting with each other and feeling bad about what's happening around them. But you don't really ever see them until modern day have positive human interaction that would endear them to these people. And that would also help me connect to them.
I get your point. Yeah.
And it's interesting to me because I did read a couple of reviews and none of them really touch on this. They all sound kind of whiny. I think it's a gorgeous movie. I think that the reason why it feels cold is that. So no antagonists, no real human interaction. Then we get to present day and it's just like, I don't really care about Cersei and her boyfriend. Like, good fuck.
I did.
You made it sound there, Jonesy, that they, as they go through time, as best you just explained it, they stand on the sidelines looking in, saying, "Oh, that's a real shame that's happened," but never doing anything about it, and then just moving on.
That's the conflict.
That's the point.
Yeah. That's the conflict.
Yeah, so and obviously I haven't seen it, so I don't understand that. But that would make me feel like, well, if you really gave a shit, you would either do something. Now they can't do something. So to Jones's point, then it does sound like they needed to show that they do care about the humans, which means you need to show a bit more the humans. You need to show why they would care about them, rather than just seeing random horrific events through time. So
I think seeing a couple of extra scenes would have been helpful for that. I could agree with that, but I don't think it was like a huge problem for me personally, because I think that is part of the conflict is like they can't do anything about it. They're not supposed to. And then when they do, it's like, okay, well, he's gone essentially.
But I think for me, so here's another way of explaining it. Show, don't tell. Selma Hayek Danny, how much do you want or spoiled, or do you care?
I don't honestly.
Okay.
Honestly,
Are
don't
we
care,
sure?
mate. Honestly,
I feel
go
like
for
this
it.
is one of those movies
This
you
is
kind of don't want to spoil
this
that much.
this part matters, and this
Okay.
this will answer kind of the question, and it goes to my entire point that I'm making right now.
Jump in, shush.
Selma Hayek has a conversation with Richard Madden, and she's talking about why she's had a break with Asham. Asham is the for lack of a better term, God's celestial that created them. And the reason why she no longer wants to go along with what he's saying is because after she disbanded the Eternals, she walked among the humans and she watched them laugh and love and cry and do horrific things to each other and all, but like these are the things that endeared her to them. We never saw any of that.
And it was also the fact that they reversed Thanos' snap.
Right. No. What I'm saying is, yeah. So, but
it showed how
what I'm
how
saying
it,
not
it, how. Okay, continue.
Yeah, what I'm saying is not being able to see her interaction or even her reaction to the snap is that same disconnect that I'm having with this movie. So show her reaction to the snap, show her walking among the people. That's like one scene, right? Like just walking through people in New York or Japan, or like some populace where you're feeling something for these people and you never get to see it because she is his acolyte. She is the eternal prime. She is the one who believed in his mission the most and has been serving him for millions of years. More than any of the other Eternals, I needed to see what changed her mind.
That's fair.
So that's where the movie falls flat for me. That's why it feels kind of cold and empty to me, because everything that they're talking about, the movie hinges on you understanding how they feel about humanity such that they would break with their creator.
But there is also,
I never got that.
Like, there is also though this disconnect, the fact that they are celestials, or not celestials, Eternals.
Sure.
There is inherently a disconnect, and that I could see that distant perspective. At the end of the day, these are just
puny humans,
fleeting things.
Yeah, but I feel like other movies where people are long-lived, they've done a better job of showing like think about Highlander. I lived for X amount of years, but I've fallen in love with you, and that is hard. That is difficult because you're going to be snuffed out in a relatively short amount of time, and you understand and you feel that conflict of like, is it even worth it for me to connect with you? Here, they are outwardly saying we care about these people, but they never show why. As a matter of fact, one of the few human interactions they have in the past, someone's trying to steal from them.
Yeah, Highlander does it almost 3 times. With his first wife in the Highlands, you see his heartbreak having to watch her get old and he's not. Then when he rescues the girl that ends up being his I'm going to say assistant, his PA, his best friend, and he has to say goodbye to her. And then obviously the love at the end. So in a film that's probably half the length of Eternals, they managed to get you to understand how hard it is to be immortal. And it was just a couple of scenes. It was a couple of heartbreaking scenes of him, or the females in his life dying in his arms. Basically, that's what it was. So yeah, that seems like a bit of a shame. So I might. I'm not spoiled by that, but I will certainly see if I can see it from Janet's perspective, where they did maybe enough. So we'll see.
I hope so. Because I think for me, that was the thing. That is ultimately the thing that left me feeling kind of hollow.
Yeah, I think I agree with most of your improvements of like, I think those things would lead to a better movie, but at the same time, they were like not so. I didn't feel as empty as hollow as you watching. But I think it also had to do with the fact that I was so engaged by the thematics of the story and just the character nuance that I was like, that's fine. That's a fine trade-off for me.
Yeah. Dan, you have any other questions?
Do they, well, you've kind of answered already. There's some sort of issue that means they can't get involved with human affairs. And they explain that sufficiently enough, obviously, because they're going to have to, because everyone's going to go, well, why didn't you fucking get involved when Thanos came down?
I mean, they answer it.
Felt a little ham-fisted.
It was just like, why didn't you do it? It's like, because we were told not to. That's it.
It seems like the way that question was asked and answered, it seems like, hey, we've got to address this. And it just felt weird.
It didn't feel weird to me. I just don't think the answer is going to please anybody, because literally you could, as was proven by one of them, but it's just that you're not supposed to.
It sounds to me that they're just going to use the excuse, well, God moves in mysterious ways. Don't
basically that is it. So
they don't say that, to be clear.
But it is no. I was just saying, yeah, basically. I think my problem with that particular moment is it's the way he kind of blurts out. He's like, well, why didn't you help with Thanos? Like, I guess.
What do you mean, I guess? That's the first question any of us would ask.
But it seems weird. There's something about it, and I'd have to see it again, and I'm not going to, but I'd have to watch that interaction again.
I'm going
there's something about it. Like I said, it seems very, not necessarily shoehorn, but there is something about the way that he says, like, why didn't you help with Thanos? And
it's because maybe he asks exactly the question that a fan would ask, and you're like,
yes,
it takes you out of it just because it's a fan would ask it. Yeah, I can see that. I don't agree with you, but I could see what you're saying.
And the way he follows it up with, he says, or any other human atrocity or anything like that, I would have gone because Thanos is like the most recent thing that happened, and maybe it's a primacy and recency thing, like he's only focusing on the most recent thing that happened. But like, wait, you've been here for thousands of years. What about slavery? What about the Holocaust? What about the Indian genocide? What about the, like, you know, I guess
nothing against those things, but I feel like the decimation of half of life in the entire universe is kind of a big deal too.
Sure. And all those other things were human atrocities. They by us on ourselves. This Thanos was someone coming completely from another planet, another that we had no way of defending against, potentially.
Yes.
And so that's a different kind of threat. Us being arseholes to each other is something that they've had to witness for years. Even the very first cavemen would have been fighting each other tribally. So
but they didn't want to. And so that's part of the, like, yes, but even when it was human on human, they have that conflict within themselves about what should we do about this. And so again, I think Jammer kind of hit it on the head. It sounds like a fanboy question.
Okay.
It would have made more sense if he had just focused on human atrocities or any of the attacks that have happened to humans. Like it does sound super fanboy. It's written weird.
I think it's interesting. I think it's one of those things why in writing a lot of times, if you're trying to get from A to B, you don't just go from A to B. You go to like A to A1 to A2 to A3, and you kind of go around B because it just for some reason feels more natural. Because if you're just asking the question right away, it just doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
It feels,
Again, it's like doing a trial. You don't ask the ultimate question. You imply it. Like, I lost my sister in the decimation. I lost, like, who did you lose? That's what it is. That's what thought. How did it affect you? Don't just fucking ask about Thanos. I lost my sister. I lost my mother. I lost something. Where the fuck were you?
Well, I don't think he was asking in an angry and judgmental way. He was asking in a genuinely curious way.
Right. And again, it sounds more fanboy. And I would want, that is my problem with the movie. It needed more feeling. It needed more emotion. And so for me, if I'm looking at someone that has the power to help, and I'm just like, where were you doing this thing? I lost my mother. I lost my father. I lost my sister. I lost my brother. Like, where the fuck were you?
That could have been so much better, couldn't it? You could have had them ask the more human questions of why are you not doing this? Like you said, my mum, my dad, and how come you're not helping these people and things like that. And then that could have been left for us to then just insert Thanos in the answer to that question. Any other atrocity that you and I can think of? Yeah, that's a good question. Why didn't he help my mum that died of cancer, etc.? Insert Thanos into that question, and you've got that broad answer. So do you think that the writers chose to do that so that it kind of, I don't want to say it dumbed it down for the viewers, but it meant, okay, we were going to address this in the room with one quick answer and that's it, because we know you're all going to ask that.
Yes.
But it sounds to me, because that lack of human connection, that's another thing that's left it a little bit empty for you. Because
your explanation, Jonesy, invites more conflict they don't have time for. If he makes it personal about I lost my son, I lost my sister, I lost my dad, then it all of a sudden becomes not just, well, why didn't you do this? It's like, fuck you, why didn't you do this? And then all of a sudden you add another conflict to it that,
but I'm okay
frankly,
with
you're
that.
describing a 3-hour movie, Jonesy.
No, that is a couple second interaction, which makes her interactions with Icarus make slightly more sense. It separates her again from the humans, because what I think these people essentially are angels, right? If Asham is a god, they're angels. And so now we're having that theme question that Jammer brought up about what is the purpose of life? What is all of that stuff? And I feel like, again, the more human thing to do is ask a question in that way. And again, this is all subjective, right? This is me nitpicking at this point.
Sure. No, but it does make me get a better understanding of why you don't like it, and you do need to care about these characters. And if they're meant to have cared about humans, you would ask that question. Well, hold on, you say you care about us, but you didn't get involved. When would you get involved? If I could cure everybody's illness, then everybody would live forever and we'd have an overpopulation. Well, how do I stop? Should I have stopped this person from wiping out 1,000 people? But then it comes 10,000 people. Like the trolley question, right? When do you choose to save one life knowing that you could kill 5, or kill 5 knowing that one's going to die? I think it's quite tough. So
to your point about, if I could save one person, Salma Hayek's power is to be able to touch people and heal them. And maybe it only works on Eternals. We don't know. I don't remember her seeing her do it to a human. But I think that would have been a moment where it could have done a lot of work with my issue with the film. Like, had she used her power to heal humans, had she been a nun, like, it would have been interesting if she was Mother Teresa, right? Because we have people that were Athena. So Angelina Jolie was Athena, but she was Athena. That's who they understood her to be. Icarus was the Icarus. Gilgamesh was Gilgamesh. And so it would have been interesting if Salma Hayek used her healing power in a way that emotionally connected her to the humans. And I would have felt a lot better about this movie had they been able to, again, bridge that gap between the humans and the Eternals, such that I believe that they cared about us.
Fair enough. It's cool. I'm good. I'm going to watch it. I've got tickets booked next week. I've got my IMAX tickets booked next week with my brother and nephews, so they're excited about it. I look forward to seeing how they feel about it, because they're 8 and 11 respectively. So,
I'll be surprised if the 8 and 11-year-old are entertained. To be perfectly honest,
well, that's what I'm. Based on what you guys are saying, I'm quite interested in that too. But they both love James Bond, so I mean, I know that's slightly different, but that's a 2.5 hour, 2 hour 40 movie that's not exactly special effects and laser guns. So we'll see. I'll let you know next week.
So the last thing I'll ask before close out, Jammer, the end credit scene. So there are 2 post-credit scenes. Did those either get you excited for what's coming next? Were you curious? Like, how did you feel?
I was shocked at the first end credit scene. I was like, this is like a tonal reversal, complete tonal clash with the rest of the movie. And we got fucking Pip the Troll in the movie, which I did not expect we'd ever get fucking Pip the Troll. And the CG was awful on him, but whatever. I didn't care too much. It was just weird. It was weird and goofy. I was like, oh, sure. It made me laugh. It was hammy and goofy. And I was like, yeah, I'll watch it.
Okay.
And then the other one, I was just like, I know nothing about this character, but I'm intrigued. Sure.
Black Knight.
Yeah.
Who was the voice off camera?
Off camera.
Yeah.
Off camra. Oh, I don't fucking know. I don't know. Who was it? Do you know?
I don't know. No, I don't.
The voices off
I have
camera.
not looked.
The Deviants. I definitely thought that was fucking Keanu Reeves as the voice of the Deviant when we first heard him talking. I was like, is that Keanu Reeves? It was a Skarsgård apparently, but yeah, I don't know. It was weird.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
What did you think of the post-credit scenes?
Kind of indifferent to Star Fox because it implicates, like, again, don't care about these characters and don't care about this world. So it's like kind of whatever. The Black Knight thing was mildly interesting, but I because I don't care about the characters from this movie, it doesn't really matter to me.
Wow.
So yeah.
You really didn't care about the characters.
No. And again, it's not a bad movie. It's just not a good one. So,
but how is that true if it's a great movie?
did I say it was a great movie?
No, I did. I'm just kidding.
You know what's interesting? So thankfully, we were just confused. The director of the Eternals, Chloe Zhao, let fandom in on a little secret. That was the voice of one of my favorite superheroes, Mr. Blade himself. Blade. Yeah. You just have to wait for Blade's solo movie. I just
so that was
know.
Mahershala Ali?
Yeah, I just don't know what they're doing with the movie, but Mahershala Ali is a treasure. It's going to be epic. I'm more interested about that than I am the rest of this fucking movie.
So I will say, I got excited by the post-credit scenes because after each one, I was just like, fuck you. For both of them. Because I was intrigued enough to keep watching the continuations of both of those scenes.
No.
But not the film. But not a sequel to the film.
No, I liked the movie. I liked it. I thought it was.
Sorry, Jamie. Yeah, sorry, you did like it. Sorry, yeah.
I think I'd give it a B.
B, really?
Because I think it does, like those things that you mentioned. Like you're not as invested in these characters as you would be in your standard Marvel movie. But I just think the trade-off for me was good enough to keep it at a B.
Okay, I'm gonna go with like C minus. So
okay.
Yeah.
Any last questions, Danny?
No, sir. Nope.
Shutting it down. All right, cut the check. So
wait.
What?
Jonesy, did you see that twist coming? The twist in the movie?
Kind of.
Not
necessarily because it was obvious, but I was like, all right, something's not adding up. Like we haven't really seen an intelligent antagonist yet. And that was the only thing that made me think. But it was like a fleeting thought. I had no idea. It wasn't like, this is what's going to happen.
Dude, and that they had dope fight scenes at the end that I really liked with the fast girl versus the villain when she was like knocking them all over the place. And just the way they did that with the music was so good.
That was good. That was really good. I think
like
the fight scenes were pretty good.
It had a great third act, I thought.
I don't know if I thought it was great, but I do agree with you. That fight, like Flash versus Superman, pretty fun.
Yeah.
So anyway, shut it down.
Shut it down.
All right. Dear listener, if you like what you're do all the socials, like, rate, comment, share, subscribe. We would definitely appreciate it. Also, wherever you're listening to this podcast, jump on there and rate us if you can. Also, LRM has other great content on where else? LRMonline.com. Gentlemen, where can you be found?
You can find me on Twitter at Jam the Writer and all of my novels under the name of AJ Cerna on Amazon and Audible.
Daniel, where can you be found?
I told you before, you can't find me, I find you.
Okay.
And of course, you can find me tweeting at Sir Jonesius on Instagram, as well as on Sir Jonesius File, and contributing to the podcast.
Can't find you either.
Can't find me. I can't find me. What the hell? Yeah, man.
Of
course, you can of course find me right here on Breaking Geek Radio, the podcast. Folks, as always, we'll see you on the next one. Hasta lasagna.
Mission accomplished.
Don't get anything on you? Is that how it goes?
That's what I was humming. I was like...
So, not for podcasters.